Hi, I'm Mary Jo, also known as MJ, Mojo, JoJo, or SewJo. And welcome to SewJo's Quilty Stitchy Things. We talk about all things stitchy, quilty, and yarny, including quilt, long arm quilting, cross stitch, crochet, maybe a few little knits, and all the yarn. Also, maybe even throw diamond painting in. What we're going to talk about now is what I've done this week. I've done a lot. First of all, let's talk about what I've completed. Like most quilters, I definitely have a stash beyond my life expectancy, but we still work through it, and we still collect more. Imagine that. So, this is a bag that I managed to finish. It was in a Creative Notion subscription box from actually a few years ago that I just managed to get quilted. Finished this week. We've got a pocket with some zippers and some pockets inside. Finished that this week. Let's see what else we have. I've also am a long arm quilter, and I managed to quilt this Halloween quilt. That was put on by Fat Quarter Shop a few years ago, but I just managed to get quilted. And if you can see, we've got some witches' hats in there. We've got some pumpkins, a cat on a broom, the cauldron down there. I just have to finish that binding. Other things that I've started this week in quilting is I've been working through some of my Sew Sampler boxes. I'm only a few years behind, it's never, may catch up one day. But what I'm working on right now is I'm starting on this Sew Sampler pattern. It's just got all the different colors in there of the different bellows that you can buy that I thought would be great to get this done and hang up somewhere in my sewing room so I can always reference and kind of match for different quilts that I need. I think that would be great to hang and just have that reference. Like I said, this is a few years old because this Sew Sampler is one of my subscriptions that I do have that I always like. Another thing I've worked on this week is this Sew Sampler as well, the Starry Checks. Now I've just started this, so this is a lot of little pieces that I've been doing. We'll see how it goes, Always sewing. I also do long arm quilting. I do my own long arm quilting, and behind me is a quilt that I actually made for my husband. The label said that it was finished in 2021. I know I started it much before, even a couple years before that, but I quilted this. And when I quilted it, let me see if I can turn you around and get a little closer look at the quilting pattern here. Look, I quilted this. It's got all these paisleys motifs on it all over. It's got an all over edge to edge quilting pattern that I did, and I chose this paisleys in there because some of the fabrics have paisleys in it. Like, as you can see, this metallic one has some pellets. This is metallic and it has some paisleys there, and this has some paisleys along in there, and we've got some paisleys over there. So that's why I chose to do that. Now, that quilt was one of the most difficult quilts for me. My husband actually saw this quilt done in a demo hanging up in one of my favorite quilt shops. That's this Amish quilt shop, and the pattern was there, so we bought the pattern. As I'm putting this pattern together, there was a couple places where it didn't give me exact measurements, and the explanation in it was just because, well, everybody's different. Well, that made it very, very hard for me to put together. And actually, this motif in the center here, yeah, that took me a couple tries to get that all going correctly, but eventually we did. And then those motifs up there in the corners were actually put together and then appliqued on. I am not a fan of applique, but we did it and it worked out. Let's talk a little bit about what I've been cross-stitched this week. Now, I have been working on this hands-on designs pattern called the Scary Apothecary, you know, which is a Halloween theme series. This is what I'm working on. Now, each of these are their own pattern, and there's 9 of them, but I decided to put it all in as one, and we'll go from there. So that is where I have been. I know this fabric is a fabric flare. It's a 14 count. That's usually what I count on. I'm very much an Aida stitcher. I've only stitched on Ghana once. I did okay, but I'm still much into the Aida. It's what I knew. It's what I've grown up with. I mean, I started stitching when I was in 3rd grade when I learned how to stitch. And of course, there were many years where I stopped, and now in the recent years I've started again. But I still always go back to my Aida. Let's see. Also recent finish, just a finished object. It's not a fully finished, but we've got this. I will probably turn this into a big pillow. But this is Country Cottage Needleworks Main Street. Again, these were all individual patterns, and I just put them together into one, because that's what I like to do. This week, I've also managed to do some finishing for some stitching with the housewives, this Trucking Along series. Now, this has been stitched for a while, but I've managed to finish it into a fully finished object and put this onto what I use to put our mail in for important mail that I do need to keep. Now, obviously, I took it out for now just to show you, but I also managed to finish some of these. Now, of course, all 12 months are done, are stitched. I still have July and August to fully finish, but we'll get around to it. I got a couple months. So let's look. This is February's, and of course, the backs just are on washers, so they're magnets, so that's it. Pretty interchangeable as I need. Let's see, and then we have March. And April. May. And June. Now, just as a previous finish from a while ago, I just have this flat fold that I made. And this was just an old kit. I think I got it at Joann's many years ago. It says, I can only please one person today. Today is not your day, and tomorrow isn't looking good. Oh. And I just did a flat fold. Flat Quarter Shop has a wonderful tutorial that I've used into how to do this. Now, let's see. We also have mini yarn things, projects that I'm always working on. One of my things I love to make are socks. I've never knitted a sock. One day I will. But I do crochet these socks. There's a pair of socks there. Now, I have another subscription from Leith & Co. where I get their socks box, and this pattern and yarn was from that. Now, this yarn I actually got, this was hand-dyed Hobby Lobby yarn. It's the same pattern as the Lether Co, but I used the Hobby Lobby yarn, and I made these pair of socks too. Now, I love wearing these crocheted socks at home when I'm not going anywhere, and they keep my feet really, really warm. Now that it's winter, and it does get cold sometimes. Also this week, what I'm working on is baby Afghan. We are working the Snowdrops for baby Afghan. Now what I am doing, I am using this variegated gray yarn. So I'm only using one color. And this was just yarn that I got on Hobby Lobby's clearance when they do their June clearance. Better believe I'm there. And this is just how it's working so far. Now this is a K-hook that I'm using. And this is just what we've got so far. All right. Now, if all of my stitchy quilty things weren't enough, I also have another hobby. It's called diamond painting. And I do that from time to time. So let me go take a look at it and see what we're working on now. Now this is the current diamond painting I'm working on from Craftably. I don't know the name. Let's see if I see the name here. Pumpkins for Sale. Yes, this is actually something I started in the fall, but, you know, life happens. And we're still working on it. So thanks for watching, and join me next time for all the quilty, stitchy, yarny things, and maybe more.